After a fight, my fiancée texted, "I'm staying at my ex's place tonight. Deal with it." So I dealt with it. The next morning, I watched her lose her mind. Sup, Reddit. From where do I start? Lol. This one is a real mess. I need you to grab some popcorn and enjoy. I'm 29, male, a union electrician. Good money. Own my apartment downtown. Drive a decent truck. Been with Brianna, 26, for almost 3 years. She's a content marketing manager. Makes decent cash, attractive, and for the longest time, we were that couple everyone envied. The relationship was solid for the first 2 years. She had her own place across town. We split everything 50-50. She never acted like I owed her anything. Independent, funny, great in bed. We'd roast each other constantly, watch football together. She'd even help me move furniture without complaining about breaking a nail. I thought I'd found my ride or die. So naturally I proposed. Took her to that fancy steakhouse she loved. Got down on one knee, the whole thing. Spent 3 months' salary on the ring because she'd been dropping hints about wanting something that would make her friends jealous. She cried, said yes, and posted 17 Instagram stories about it. That was on top of the world. That's when everything went to heck. It's like the ring flipped some switch in her brain. Suddenly, she's talking about our money instead of splitting bills. Started expecting me to pick up every check because that's what fiancés do. Stopped cooking, stopped cleaning, started treating my apartment like a hotel where she happened to crash rent-free. He even had the nerve to suggest I should get a bigger place for when we have kids. Started talking about how I should invest in our future by upgrading my truck to something more family-friendly. Translation. She wanted me to take on a $60,000 car payment so she could look good in the school pickup line. But the real poison was her best friend, Betty. Single, bitter, works some dead-end admin job and spends her free time destroying every relationship around her. Betty, Brianna's maid of honor since the engagement, made it her personal mission to turn Brianna into some entitled princess. Every time Betty came over, I'd hear whispers in the kitchen over coffee. Then, Brianna would emerge with some new demand. Betty says you should be paying for the entire wedding since you're the man. Betty thinks I deserve a bigger ring. Betty says I shouldn't have to work after we're married. Each conversation cost me more money and respect. The worst part, Betty would sit on my couch, drinking my soda, eating my food, and lecture me about how real men treat their women. This from someone who'd been single for 3 years and whose last boyfriend left her for her own cousin. I called it out directly. Told Brianna that Betty was toxic and trying to sabotage us because she couldn't stand seeing her friend happy. "You're being paranoid," Brianna said. "She just wants what's best for me. What's best for you is getting away from that bitter harpy before she ruins us." Betty overheard and smiled this fake, sweet smile. "I just think Brianna deserves someone who treats her like a queen. If that threatens you, maybe ask yourself why." I wanted to tell her exactly what I thought, but I kept my mouth shut. Should have trusted my gut and ended it then. Should have seen the red flags when Brianna started nodding along instead of defending me. The breaking point came 6 weeks ago. Brianna announces she wants to go on a girls' trip to Miami with Betty and some other friends. Week-long party fest. Bottle service every night. Staying at some fancy resort 2 months before our wedding. "It's my bachelorette party," she says. "My last chance to be wild before I settle down." "You're not settling down. You're getting married to me. There's a difference." "You know what I mean?" "Don't be so dramatic." "No, I really don't know what you mean." "Explain it." She got defensive. Said I was being controlling. That she deserved to have fun before real life started. Real life. Like our engagement was just some holding pattern before the prison sentence began. I told her absolutely not. Call me old school, but there's no way in heck my fiancé was going to party in Miami clubs while I paid for wedding deposits and vendor contracts. That's when Betty chimed in from the couch. "See, Bri, I told you he'd try to control you. This is just the beginning." The fight that followed was nuclear. Brianna screaming about trust and freedom. Me pointing out that wanting to party like you're single while wearing my ring isn't about trust. It's about respect. Betty sitting there, stirring the pot with little comments designed to escalate everything. "Fine," Brianna finally screamed. "If you don't trust me, maybe we shouldn't get married. Maybe we shouldn't." She went dead silent like she expected me to grovel and apologize. When I didn't, she grabbed her purse and stormed out. Didn't come home that night or the next. I figured she was at Betty's place waiting for me to come crawling back with an apology and permission for her little Miami mess. Instead, I went to work, hit the gym, ordered takeout, and slept like a baby. If she wanted to test me, she picked the wrong guy. 3 years as an electrician teaches you patience and problem solving. Wednesday night, I found out exactly where she'd been staying. Wednesday night, I'm on the couch watching the Celtics game and actually enjoying the peace and quiet. No Betty whispering poison in the kitchen. No passive-aggressive comments about how I never do anything romantic anymore. Just me, a soda, and basketball. Then my phone buzzes. Text from Brianna. "I'm at Dean's place tonight. Deal with it." Dean, her ex from college. The one she claims is just a friend, but gets weird whenever his name comes up. The one who randomly texts her whenever we have a fight. I'd met him once. Typical finance bro type who still thinks he's in a fraternity. I stared at that message for a full minute. Read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't seeing things. My first instinct was to blow up her phone, demand explanations, drive over there, and drag her butt home. That's what the old me would have done. That's what she expected me to do. Instead, I set the phone down and cracked another can, took a long drink, and really thought about what just happened. This woman who's wearing my $8,000 ring just announced she's spending the night at her ex-boyfriend's place and told me to deal with it after letting her toxic friend spend months undermining our relationship. The disrespect was breathtaking, but it was also clarifying, like someone had just shown me exactly who they really were. I finished my drink, turned off the game, and got to work. See, here's something important about my apartment. It's mine. My name on the lease, my security deposit, my furniture, my everything. I pay $2,400 a month for a one-bedroom downtown because I can afford it and I like living alone. Brianna moved in 8 months ago and contributed to groceries and utilities. That's it. She was basically a guest who'd overstayed her welcome. Time for checkout. I started packing her stuff. Not angry, not rushed. Her clothes, makeup, that collection of plants she was always fussing over. Her books, everything. Used good boxes from recent Amazon deliveries. Even bubble-wrapped the fragile stuff, because I'm not a complete jerk. The whole time, my phone stayed silent. No follow-up texts, no apology, no just kidding, nothing. She really meant it. 3.5 hours later, every single thing she owned was packed and loaded in my truck. The funny part, I knew exactly where Dean lived. Brianna had me drop her off there once for some group study session a few months back. Told me not to come up, because Dean's roommate doesn't like strangers. Should have been a red flag. Then made 4 trips between midnight and 2 a.m., stacked everything neatly outside Dean's apartment door like a professional moving service. Even left a note. Since you're staying here anyway, Jackson. Drove home feeling lighter than I had in months. Went to Home Depot first thing in the morning and bought smart locks. Installed them myself while drinking coffee and listening to podcasts. Took my time, did it right. Went to work like it was any other Thursday because it was around lunchtime. My boy Riley texted me. He lives in Dean's complex, works from home doing freelance graphic design, has zero filter and the sharpest tongue in the city. Yo, just saw some chick loading boxes into an Uber outside Dean's place. She looked rough. Is everything good? I sent him screenshots of the text exchange. Holy crap, dude. That's some next level disrespect. Yep. So, I dealt with it. Savage. Want me to keep an eye on the situation over here? This could get interesting. Do whatever you want. Not my circus anymore. My work crew got wind of the situation by Friday. These guys don't mess around when it comes to relationship advice. You kicked her out for one text? Asked Danny, our lead installer. She told me to deal with her staying at her ex's place. So I dealt with it. Darn right, said Big Sean, nodding approvingly. That's some alpha move right there. Most guys would have gone crying to her door. My wife tried that kind of power play once, Danny added. I shut it down quickly. You let them get away with that stuff, they'll walk all over you forever. But I was definitely curious about how this would play out. And Riley never disappoints with his intel. Thursday night, I slept like a baby. First full night's sleep I'd had in weeks, without someone sighing dramatically every 5 minutes about wedding planning stress, or how her friends' engagements were so much more romantic. Friday morning, 7:45 a.m. sharp. Sounds like someone's trying to break down my door. Look through the peephole. It's Brianna looking like she'd slept in a dumpster. Hair everywhere. Yesterday's makeup streaked down her face, shaking with rage. Jackson, open this door. My key doesn't work. I took my time making coffee first. French press, good beans, the whole ritual. Let her pound and scream for a good 5 minutes while I checked work emails. When I finally cracked the door, keeping the chain latched, she looked ready to commit murder. Morning, sunshine. Sleep well? What did you do to my key? Your key? That was my spare key that I let you borrow. I upgraded the locks. Only residents get the codes. I am a resident. Were, past tense. You moved out Wednesday night. Remember Dean's place? Her face went through this amazing transformation. Red to white to purple to a shade I didn't know existed. Like watching a mood ring have a seizure. You can't do this. I live here. I get mail here. You get packages here occasionally. Big difference. And you lived here as my guest, not as a tenant. It wasn't what you think. Dean's roommate was having a crisis and don't care. You made your choice. I made mine. Pretty simple transaction, really. Oh, where's all my stuff? Safe and sound outside Dean's door. Better hurry, though. Looks like it might rain. Weather app says 60% chance. That's when she completely lost her mind. Started screaming like a banshee, pounding on the door, demanding everything from lawyers to calling her daddy to ruining my life. The old lady from 4B opened her door to see what was happening. Took one look at Brianna, having her melt down, and shook her head with this "I told you" son expression. That lady never liked Brianna. Said she was too entitled for such a young woman. You psychopath. I have rights. I've been living here for 8 months. Now you're not. Have a great day, Brianna. Closed the door and put on noise-canceling headphones. Made breakfast while she continued her tantrum in the hallway. Scrambled eggs, fresh orange juice. 20 minutes later, silence. Looked out the peephole. She was gone. Riley called around noon, laughing his butt off. Dude, Your ex showed up at Dean's with red eyes and mascara everywhere. Starts loading boxes into an Uber, but here's the kicker. Dean's got a girlfriend. Silence. What? Yeah, man, Jessica. She's been living there for 6 months. Apparently, the roommate crisis was Jessica finding out some other chick had spent the night and was claiming to be Dean's friend who needed a place to crash. This kept getting better. So Jessica comes home from her night shift. She's a nurse. Finds your ex's stuff piled outside the door and Brianna inside making breakfast like she owns the place. The screaming match could be heard 3 floors down. No way. The building manager had to come up and sort it out. Dean's trying to explain to both women. Jessica's threatening to leave and your ex is crying about being homeless. It was better than reality TV. Get this. Brianna actually tried to convince Jessica that she was Dean's emotional support friend and needed to stay for her mental health. Jessica told Brianna if she wasn't gone in 5 minutes, she was calling the cops. Where is she now? Betty picked her up in some beat-up car, but Jessica made Dean promise that if your ex shows up again, he's calling the cops. She doesn't play games. Smart woman. But I had a feeling this was just the beginning. Friday afternoon, I get a call from building security. Mr. Jackson, there's someone here claiming to be your fiancée who wants us to let her up. She's not my fiancée anymore. Don't let her up. She's pretty upset about that. Making quite a scene in the lobby. Something about her rights and how you're stealing from her. Not my problem. Thanks, Tony. But Saturday brought a whole new level of crazy that I wasn't prepared for. Saturday morning, I'm enjoying coffee and scrolling through my phone when Tony from building security calls. Jackson, you need to come down to the lobby. Now, your ex is here with some older guy and a middle-aged woman claiming they have legal rights to enter your apartment. Be right down. I throw on clothes and head downstairs. There's Brianna with her dad, Richard, and her mom, Grace, looking like they're ready for war. Richard's holding a manila folder and wearing his, business expression. Grace is standing with her arms crossed, the I want to speak to your manager pose. Brianna's dressed up like she's going to court. Tony wouldn't let them up without my permission. Guy is a former Marine. Doesn't take crap from anyone. Richard starts immediately. Jackson, what's this nonsense about making my daughter homeless? Morning, Richard. Grace, I nod to her. I didn't make anyone homeless. I ended our engagement after she chose to spend the night at her ex's place and told me to deal with it. Grace jumps in before Richard can respond. You can't just throw people out. She has rights. She's been living here. As my guest, Grace, never signed a lease, never paid rent, never established legal residency. That's ridiculous. She was practically your wife. I pull out my phone, show them the screenshot. I'm at Dean's place tonight. Deal with it. That's not how wives talk to husbands. Richard's eye twitches. Grace's mouth drops open. She explained that it was innocent, Richard says. You're overreacting. That's not explaining, Richard. That's a declaration of war. Grace tries the guilt angle. She made one mistake, one text. You're destroying her life over nothing. She destroyed her own life with that text. I just responded accordingly. Richard's folder comes out. We're prepared to file suit for illegal eviction and theft. Please do. I'd love to show a judge the text where your daughter announced she was staying elsewhere and the building security footage of me peacefully moving her belongings. Also happy to provide documentation that she was never on any lease, never received mail here, and never established legal residency. The folder goes back down. Richard realizes they're screwed. That's when Brianna tries the manipulation route. Tears start flowing. Voice gets all breathy and pathetic. Baby, please. This is crazy. I made one mistake, one text. We can fix this. We just did fix it. You're free to stay wherever you want. And I'm free from someone who thinks deal with it is appropriate communication with their fiancé. I didn't mean it like that. Right. Grace is getting red-faced. You're being cruel. She's devastated. Look at her. I looked at her, and she looked like a snotty raccoon having a meltdown. Too late. People make mistakes. Some mistakes have consequences. Grace, this is what consequences look like. Grace turns to Tony, our security guard. You heard him. He's being abusive. You need to let us up there. Tony, stone-faced. Ma'am, I heard a man exercise his legal right to remove someone from his own apartment. If you keep yelling, I'm calling the police. Richard realizes they're not getting anywhere. Come on, Brianna. We'll figure something else out. As they're leaving, I hear Grace hiss, I can't believe you're not making him give her money. And Brianna's response was, he's supposed to take care of me. That's what men do. The look of pure shock on Richard's face when he heard his daughter's entitlement was worth everything I'd been through. But Sunday brought the nuclear option, and that's when I stopped finding any of this funny. Sunday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from random numbers. Not Brianna. I blocked her after the lobby confrontation. These were from mutual friends, all asking the same question. What the heck is happening? Checked social media. Oh, it was a masterpiece. Brianna had posted this 3-paragraph sob story on Facebook about being suddenly abandoned by someone she trusted completely. How I'd become controlling and abusive after the engagement. How she was homeless and terrified because of my violent tendencies. Even threw in some nonsense about me monitoring her phone and isolating her from friends. Real victim here. Betty was leading the charge in the comments like some deranged PR manager. I always knew he had anger issues, and Brianna is so brave for speaking out, and Jackson fooled us all, but I never trusted him. The echo chamber was in full effect, with her flying monkeys calling me every name in the book. But here's where Betty made her first mistake. She started her own Facebook post about supporting survivors and how she'd always seen the red flags with me. Posted photos from our double dates with captions like, "I should have protected her from this monster." I posted exactly one response, a screenshot of her text and my simple okay reply. Nothing else. Let the evidence speak for itself. The tide started turning in the comments. My friends asking for context. Her friends demanding I tell the truth about what I'd done to her. Then Jessica, Dean's girlfriend, dropped a nuclear bomb. "Is this why you showed up at my apartment with boxes, claiming to be Dean's girlfriend while I was standing right there after spending the night uninvited?" Post deleted within 10 minutes, but screenshots live forever, and about 50 people had already captured it. Betty went full attack dog on her own Facebook, posting about how I was manipulating the narrative and gaslighting everyone. The girl was unhinged. Quick pause, fellas. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way. Thanks so much for your support. All right, back to the drama. Monday brought the wellness check. 2 cops at my door looking bored out of their minds. "Sir, we got a call about someone threatening self-harm at this address." Let me guess, my ex-fiancée called it in. We can't say who called, but yeah, invited them in, made coffee, showed them the text exchange, explained the timeline. So, she announced she was staying at her ex's place. You packed her stuff and took it there, and now she's saying, "You're having a meltdown." That about sums it up. Officers, are you feeling okay? Any thoughts of hurting yourself or others? Officers, I haven't been this happy in months. Just annoyed that she's wasting your time and taxpayer resources with false reports. They documented it as a malicious call and warned me she might escalate. One of them even said, "We see this a lot. X makes bad decisions, faces consequences, then tries to weaponize the system. Keep your documentation handy." Smart advice. Wednesday morning brought something that made me realize this wasn't just petty drama anymore. Credit monitoring alert on my phone. Attempted credit application using your social security number. Someone had tried to open a store credit card in my name. Failed because the phone number didn't match my file, but they had my SSN, date of birth, and my old address from college. One guess who? I called the credit company immediately. They confirmed all the details. Attempted $2,000 limit card, all my personal information, a wrong phone number, froze my credit across all 3 bureaus. Then I called the police. The officer taking my statement was the same one from the wellness check. "Your ex-fiancée again?" "Yep, she's escalating. Identity theft's a felony, Jackson." "This is serious now. No more games." Filed a formal report. Got a case number. The officer suggested I hire a lawyer and consider a restraining order. This won't be the last attempt. He was right. Thursday, I got notifications that someone was trying to reset my email password, my bank password, even my PlayStation account. All attempts were going to an email address I didn't recognize. Friday, Riley called with an update that had me seeing red. "Dude, your psycho ex convinced Dean to let her stay just until she gets back on her feet." That was 3 weeks ago. "She's completely taken over their apartment." "What do you mean?" "Rearranged the furniture, threw away Jessica's stuff, keeps talking about how you're going to come to your senses and beg her to come back. She's completely delusional." The audacity was staggering. Jessica's ready to move out. Dean's terrified of both women at this point. Oh, and she tried to order $300 worth of groceries delivered to their place using your credit card. She what? Delivery guy showed up with bags of expensive stuff. Organic this, gluten-free that, the whole Whole Foods experience. Dean had no idea what was going on. When they called the number on the order, it was your card. Dean refused the delivery and reported it to the store. Another felony? Perfect. But wait, it gets better. She's been telling everyone in the building that Dean's her new boyfriend and they're working things out. Posted Instagram stories from his apartment, talking about new beginnings and finding real love. Jessica saw them and went ballistic. That's when I decided it was time to go nuclear. But first, I had some business to take care of. Time to return that $8,000 ring. Monday morning, I hired Nora, a lawyer who specializes in harassment and cyberstalking cases. Found her through a buddy at work whose ex tried similar stuff. Cost me $3,500 upfront. But after the credit card fraud attempt, I was done playing games. First thing she did was send cease and desist letters to Brianna, Richard, Grace, Betty, and every flying monkey who'd been harassing me. The letters were beautiful. Outlined everything from the false wellness check to the attempted identity theft. Made it clear that any further contact would result in immediate legal action. Most of Brianna's friends backed off immediately. Richard actually responded through his own lawyer with a formal apology, saying he was unaware of his daughter's escalating behavior and would ensure no further contact. Betty's response was priceless. "This is harassment. Brianna is the victim here. Jackson is trying to silence us." Nora fired back with a 2-page letter explaining how criminal law works. "Your client's friend has committed multiple felonies. Any further communication from you will be considered obstruction of justice and reported to the appropriate authorities. Radio silence after that. But before we move forward with prosecution, I had one more thing to handle. I asked her about the ring situation. In this state, if the engagement is broken by the recipient, the ring goes back to the giver. It's considered a conditional gift. Perfect. I still had the receipt, the appraisal, and the insurance documentation. Nora drew up a formal demand letter requiring Brianna to return the ring within 72 hours or face civil action for conversion and theft. The letter was delivered to Betty's apartment where Brianna was still crashing. Tuesday, my phone exploded. Brianna had gotten a burner phone and was calling me from different numbers, screaming about how the ring was hers and I had no right to take it back. You gave it to me. You can't just take it back because you're having a tantrum. Read the letter, Brianna. I'm not giving you anything. This ring is mine. I earned it. You earned it by telling me to deal with you staying at your ex's place. Interesting payment plan. That's when she really lost her mind. Started screaming about how she was going to destroy me. How she'd never give the ring back. How I was a psychopath for wanting it. See you in court then. Wednesday, Riley called with the play-by-play. Dude, your ex is having a complete meltdown over here. She's been screaming at Betty about the ring, crying, throwing things. Betty's getting sick of her nonsense. What do you mean? Apparently, Brianna's been treating Betty's place like a hotel, eating all her food, using her car without asking, bringing random dudes back for revenge hookups, leaving messes everywhere. Betty finally snapped and told her to grow up and handle her problems like an adult. Oh no, the sisterhood was cracking. Brianna started crying about how Betty was supposed to support her and be on her side. And Betty told her that supporting someone doesn't mean enabling their delusions. They had a huge fight. Brianna stormed out and Betty changed her locks. Where's she staying now? Back with Mommy and Daddy. But here's the thing. Grace has been calling Betty screaming about how she abandoned Brianna and ruined her life. Betty posted on Facebook telling Grace to control her psycho daughter before she ends up in jail. The house of cards was collapsing. Thursday brought news that made my day. The DA's office is moving forward with prosecution. Nora said multiple counts of identity theft, attempted fraud, filing false reports, and cyberstalking. They want her arrested. When? Tomorrow morning. And Jackson, she still hasn't returned the ring. That's another felony. Theft of property over $5,000. Christmas came early this year, but Friday brought something that made me realize this wasn't over yet. Friday morning, I'm having coffee when Nora calls. She's been arrested. Multiple felony charges, plus the ring theft. But Jackson, there's a problem. What? She claims the ring is lost, says she can't remember where she put it. Either she's lying or she sold it. Great. My investigator is checking local pawn shops and jewelry stores. If she sold it, that's another felony. Saturday, Riley called me laughing hard. Dude, you're not going to believe this. LMAO. 2 cop cars just pulled up to Betty's apartment complex. Your ex got arrested while she was there begging Betty to take her back. You can't be serious? She's screaming about how this is all your fault. Betty standing in the doorway, telling the cops she doesn't know her. Half the complex is outside watching the show. The mental image was perfect. They just put her in the car. She's still screaming. This is better than Netflix. Oh, and Grace showed up right as they were driving away. Started yelling at Betty about how this is her fault for abandoning Brianna. Betty told her to buzz off and slammed the door. 2 hours later, she's been arrested and charged. Bail hearing is Monday, but with multiple felony counts and a pattern of escalating behavior, she'll likely be held until trial. And with her record, she could be looking at 3 to 5 years if convicted on all counts. The identity theft alone carries mandatory minimums in this state. The next day, word was already spreading through our mutual friend group. My buddy Chris called laughing. Dude, half the people at my bachelor party heard about Brianna getting arrested. Tommy said his girlfriend saw the mugshot on Facebook. Betty posted it with some sob story about the justice system failing women. Betty posted her mugshot. Yeah, but it backfired. Everyone's commenting about how crazy Brianna looks and asking what she actually did. Betty's trying to control the narrative, but people are Googling the charges. Identity theft, fraud, stalking. It's all public record now. Monday's bail hearing was a mess. Brianna showed up looking like she'd been living rough. Unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, bags under her eyes. Her public defender argued for release on recognizance, claiming she was a young woman dealing with emotional trauma from an abusive relationship. Right, young woman. The prosecutor laid out the timeline of escalating criminal behavior. False reports, identity theft, attempted fraud, harassment despite cease and desist orders, attempted employment sabotage, and theft of an $8,000 engagement ring. The judge looked at the evidence for about 30 seconds. Bail set at $50,000. Defendant is ordered to have no contact with the victim and to surrender her passport. Richard had to mortgage his house to get her out. I almost felt bad for the guy. Grace was in the courtroom making snide comments loud enough for everyone to hear about how I was destroying an innocent girl's life. The bailiff had to tell her to be quiet twice. The restraining order hearing was even better. Brianna's lawyer tried the woman's scorned angle, claiming she was emotionally devastated and not thinking clearly. The judge wasn't buying it. 5-year restraining order granted. Any contact whatsoever results in immediate arrest and jail time. But here's the kicker. Word travels fast in the content marketing world. Getting arrested for cybercrimes when your job requires digital trust. That's career-ending. She was fired before she even made bail. And with her criminal charges pending, she's basically blacklisted from the entire industry. No one's hiring someone facing felony cyber stalking charges. 3 months later, she'd moved back in with her parents in Ohio. At 26, living in her childhood bedroom, unemployed, facing felony charges, and still no ring. Nora's investigator found it at a pawn shop downtown. Brianna had sold it for $2,000 2 days after I kicked her out. We got it back, and now she's facing an additional charge for selling stolen property. Richard sent one final message through lawyers, a check for $6,200 to cover all the fraudulent charges and my legal fees. Included a note, I'm ashamed of my daughter's behavior and want to make this right. I kept the money. Richard was a decent guy who got stuck with a nightmare daughter and a wife who enabled her every tantrum. The trial was scheduled for 6 months out, but Brianna's lawyer pushed for a plea deal. 2 years probation, full restitution, mandatory anger management counseling, and the restraining order stays in effect. She took it rather than risk 5 years in prison. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 3 months into her probation, I started dating Leah, a veterinarian who owns her own practice. Smart, pays her own bills, and has never once told me to deal with anything. That's when Brianna's stalking and harassment kicked into high gear again. 6 months later, I'm doing great. Still in my apartment, picked up some overtime shifts that bumped my pay grade, and Leah and I are solid. The Brianna nightmare felt like ancient history until she found out about Leah through social media. Then the harassment started all over again. She created fake Instagram accounts to stalk Leah's veterinary practice page, leaving 1-star reviews claiming Leah was unprofessional and stole someone's fiancé. Leah handled it like a champ. Screenshotted everything, reported it to the platforms, and told me she wasn't going to let some pathetic ex. But Brianna wasn't done. She started showing up at Leah's clinic, claiming she needed to discuss something important with her. Leah's receptionist recognized her from the photos I'd shown and called security every time. Then this happened. The breaking point came at our mutual friend Chris's wedding. I almost didn't go because there was a chance she might show up. But Leah convinced me we shouldn't let my psycho ex. She said, "Isn't she supposed to be on probation and banned from contacting you?" Riley met us there. He'd been looking forward to this wedding for weeks, partly because he's friends with Chris, but mostly because he'd been hoping for exactly what ended up happening. The ceremony went fine. Cocktail hour was great. Good food, better drinks, people I hadn't seen in ages. I was finally relaxing when Riley grabbed my arm with this evil grin. "Dude, don't look now." But guess who just stumbled in looking like a complete disaster? I looked anyway. There she was, weaving through the entrance in a wrinkled dress that looked like she'd slept in it, clearly intoxicated. "Oh, this is about to be legendary," Riley said, pulling out his phone. "I'm getting all of this. This is going straight to the group chat." Brianna spotted me across the room and made a beeline, knocking over a centerpiece and stepping on someone's foot along the way. "Jackson," she slurred loud enough for the entire reception to hear. "There you are. I knew you'd be here." Conversations died. Heads turned. Phones came out. The DJ actually turned the music down. "Leave. There's a restraining order and you're violating your probation." "Screw your restraining order. I came here to talk to you, to make you understand." Leah stepped closer to me, ready for whatever was about to happen. Security was already moving in our direction, but Riley held up a hand. He wanted to see this play out. "Understand what?" I kept my voice calm. "That you made a mistake. That we belong together. I forgive you for everything. The arrest, the lawyers, all of it. We can start over." The delusion was unbelievable. She actually thought this was romantic. "Brianna, we're done." "We've been done for over a year?" "No, you're just being stubborn. And this?" She glared at Leah with pure hatred. "This is your pathetic rebound." "Your downgrade?" "She's not even that pretty." That's when Riley stepped forward with the biggest grin I've ever seen. "Oh, this is perfect. Brianna, meet Leah. She's a veterinarian who owns her own practice, drives her own car, and has never once committed identity theft." Crazy standards, right? The crowd was eating this up. Someone started live streaming on Instagram. Brianna's face went red. "Screw you. You don't know what you're talking about. She's a witch who stole my man." "Your man?" Riley laughed. "Lady, you told him to deal with you staying at your ex's place. That's not how you keep a man. That's how you get screwed." Right on cue, 2 security guards appeared. "Ma'am, you need to leave immediately." "No, I'm not done." "Jackson, please, you have to listen to me." "I love you." She tried to grab my arm. I stepped back. Security moved in. "This is harassment. This is illegal. I'll sue everyone here." "With what lawyer?" Riley called out as they started escorting her toward the exit. "Didn't Daddy already spend his retirement money bailing you out of jail?" The crowd was loving it. Even the bride and groom were watching from the head table, trying not to laugh. As they dragged her toward the door, she made one last desperate play. "Jackson, remember what we had? Remember how good it was before you ruined everything?" Riley cupped his hands around his mouth. "Yeah, the best part is when he ruined everything." The entire reception erupted. People were recording, laughing, applauding. Someone started chanting, "Deal with it! Deal with it!" Her final scream as security pushed her out the door. "I hate all of you. Leah's ugly and Jackson's a loser." Riley's parting shot. "If that were true, you wouldn't be here begging for him back, sweetie." The whole thing was on social media within minutes. Number sign deal with it started trending locally with the caption, "When keeping it real goes wrong." By Monday morning, it had gone viral with over 200,000 views. Chris the groom found me later that night. "Dude, I'm sorry about the drama. I had no idea she'd show up. Not your fault, man. Thanks for having security handle it." "Are you kidding? That was the best entertainment we could have asked for. My wedding's going to be remembered forever now." I got a call from Nora Tuesday morning. "Your ex violated her restraining order at a public event with about 50 witnesses and video evidence. The DA wants to revoke her probation and send her to jail. She's also facing additional charges for the harassment of your girlfriend. Interested in pressing charges?" "Absolutely. Last I heard, she's doing 18 months in county lockup. She wanted me to deal with it. I did on my terms. The lesson is simple. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." Peace out, Reddit.